Thanks so much for joining me. You are watching the March 2020 edition of the Quilt of Joy Clubhouse, and I'm just delighted that you chose to spend some time with me. I've got some great stuff to show you, and I appreciate you choosing to spend a little of your day with me, and hopefully you'll get something out of it. So today we are going to talk about a variety of things, and we have a great looky-loo video chat tour of a amazing studio that I know you're going to love. I want to be sure that you are signed up for our Quilted Joy newsletter, because we always announce anything that's going on or any events that we have or any specials or any topics that we're going to cover in the upcoming Clubhouse meetings are all in that newsletter. So please do join me in that newsletter. We've got some great fun links for you as well that have to do with quilting and the sewing community that I think you'll enjoy when that newsletter comes out. So be sure to sign up. And I also want to tell you we've got an event coming up here in our studio. Now, our studio is in Louisville, Kentucky. So if you're ever going through Louisville, please do stop by and say hello. But we have Margaret Solomon Gunn coming to teach in November. And if you haven't found Margaret Solomon Gunn yet, I highly suggest that you seek her out. She's at mainlylovequilts.com, mainly spelled like the state. And she is an amazing competition quilter. What I love about Margaret is that she is an engineer by trade. So she has a very logical, mathematical brain, and how she looks at a quilt and how she breaks down a quilt and she's able to express how she can do that. She's a wonderful teacher. So if you have the opportunity to come for the event that we're going to have with her teaching, I would love to see you here. She's doing two-day events. So she's doing a November 11 and 12, 2020 event here in Louisville, Kentucky, and then she's going to repeat that same session again on the 13th and 14th of November. So one of those two events hopefully will work for you, but it's a repeat of the same information. So one of those two should hopefully work, but you can see there in that link that we've put up on the screen more information about her classes. And at AQS Daytona, she just won the Best of Show and the Best Original Design. So of the humongous awards that they put out for that show, she won two of the big awards. So she is fantastic, and I know that you would get a lot of great info from attending that. So I do have a little bit of a confession to make. So we are recording this early because I am actually teaching on a cruise ship right now. I think this will air when I'm in Honduras. So I'm teaching on the at-sea days, and then when we're in port, I get to go and check out the local whatnot. I think in Honduras we've got an ATV ride and something with sloths and monkeys. So that's what I'm doing today. So we recorded this for you earlier so that we would have a Clubhouse for you to watch today. So today we are going to talk about 4 different types of machine quilting feather spines. And I just want to be clear about what a feather spine is. So I've put a quilt up here for you to look at, and it has multiple types of feathers. This is actually a whole class that I teach just about feathers. I think there's 40 different feathers on this particular quilt. But you can see in each of the different colors, different types of feathers, and then the spine is that line that everything kind of radiates off of. And there's different types of spines, and they'll give you different types of looks. And then there are so many kinds of plumes that you can put on that spine that will also, some are harder than others, some are more forgiving. So we're going to spend a little bit of time here in our Clubhouse sessions talking about feathers and breaking down, easier feathers and then ones to tackle when you have your sea legs under you and you're feeling a little bit more experienced. So we're going to talk about different feather spines. So the first spine that I want to talk to you about is the rarest spine of all, and that's a straight spine. And a lot of times when you take a feather class, they will start you on a straight spine. And it's a little bit like we want to kind of, as instructors, we want to get you used to the shape of a feather. And the shape of a feather is a teardrop. It's a partial teardrop. I'm going to just draw it here on the screen for you. So when we talk about a feather, if I talk about a teardrop shape, then the portion of the teardrop that I'm really wanting you to focus on is that portion, stopping at about right there. That's the portion. So you could even call it like a half a heart, a half of an ear, a half of a question mark. I've heard it called all different things, but it's a partial teardrop. That's really what we're after. So a lot of times you'll start and you'll see it being taught on a spine, but as far as how often you're going to encounter a straight spine on a quilt, pretty rare. So most of the time your spines are going to be curved. So let's look at one spine, and that's a single spine. So a single spine, and like I said, most of the time it's going to be curved. And then at the tip, at the top of your spine, it can be like this where there's nothing. It can also be a single spine with a terminal, that's what it's called, a terminal feather plume at the top. So I can start stitching it from the bottom up to the top. I can also start stitching it from the top to the bottom, or I could do that terminal plume and go from the top to the bottom. So I have a choice on a single spine whether I want to start at the bottom or the top, and it really all depends on how I want to end my threads. So if we look at these 4 styles of the single spine, if I were to start at the bottom and go to the top, I could backtrack along what I've just stitched to get to the bottom to start my feathers. But the problem is backtracking along that spine, you have to be really spot on. If you wobble or bobble, it's going to be super noticeable, especially if you're using a thicker thread. So this feather plume, same thing with the terminal feather. If I have to backtrack down along this spine, I'm going to have to be super careful. So many times what I will do is I will start sewing at the top, sew down the spine to the bottom, and then start working my way up one side of that spine. And so we want to work from the bottom up, not the top down. So I highly encourage you, as you're working with feathers, do not work from the top down. It is super hard, super hard. The easier way, and feathers are already hard enough, is to start at the bottom and go to the top. So whether you have to break your threads or not bury your threads or backtrack along your spine, just do each side of your spine from the bottom up. So in this case, I can start at the top of my spine, come all the way down, start working up one side of my spine until I get to the top of my spine. And once I get to the top of my spine, I have a choice. I could go back down that spine to get to the bottom again, but again, that's going to be a lot of buildup. So another opportunity I have is to just echo over the top of each of the heads of my little plumes and head all the way back down to the base, and now I can start back up this side. And when I get to the top, I'm going to echo back down so that I have an echo on both sides of my feather spine, on both sides of the plumes on my feather spine. So get back up to the top, and then I'm going to echo back down. So that's one type of spine, a single spine. All right, so let's work on another one. So the next type of spine I want to talk to you about is a double spine. So a double spine, I'm going to start at the bottom, I'm going to curve up, and then some kind of tip at the top, like a cotton swab tip, and then it's just an echo back down, and then I would start again on one side of the spine and work my way up. And when I get to the top, I have that same choice where I could go along the outside, or I could break my threads. I'm going to put one more up here, maybe one more. And likely what I'll do is echo till I get to the bottom. And then I would work my way back up this side. So that would be a double spine. And I could also break my thread at the top and then restart back at the base, but I just encourage you to always start at the base of your spine. So the third kind of spine that I want you to see, let's see, hold on, let me Control Z that. Okay, there it goes. So the third kind of spine I want to show you is a wide spine. So a wide spine is very similar to the double spine, but I'm going to deliberately make that channel very, very, very big. And now when I come up and I start making my plumes, when I head back down, I can fill in the inside of that channel with all kinds of things. Probably the most common thing you see is ribbon candy. And so this is just my travel. So instead of that echo, I'm traveling down the middle of my spine, and really these feathers should be bigger considering how wide I have that channel. But I'm just drawing on the screen, so it's not quite as easy. Looking up at the screen and drawing with a little drawing pad. So these feathers should have been bigger on that other side. And terminal plume. So, and then I could break my threads, or I could travel back down again. So that ribbon candy is popular. Another one that you will see a lot in a double spine, I'm going to put a pointed edge here. So I would do my feathers up to the top. I'll make them kind of big just so it could go a little faster for you. So there I'm at the top. And then another one you're going to see a lot are pearls. So I'm just going to fill this with circles. So a string of pearls inside. Now I'm back to the bottom. And now I can start again. So that there wasn't a lot of thread buildup aside from, every pearl inside my feather plume. For that style. So then the last type of spine I want to talk to you about is not a spine, it's spineless. And so a spineless feather, let's see, I want to Control Z both of these. So a spineless feather is something I would chalk. So let me grab a different color here. So it's something that I would chalk so that I at least had a path. And then as I stitch, I'm actually going to stitch both sides at the same time, alternating every other one, but I'm using my chalked spine as a guide. But I haven't stitched that spine, and if I don't stay spot on the spine, who cares? I'm the one who drew it. I can choose to ignore it, or I can choose to follow it. So that's a spineless. So there you go. There are the 4 kinds of spines that you will find on a quilt. Now, of course, those spines could be a deep curve, they could be a shallow curve, they could be a continuous serpentine curve that goes all the way around a quilt. So there are endless varieties of curves, but generally you're going to find your feathers are placed on some kind of curve or contained in some kind of geometric shape. So feathers is a humongous topic. So next month what we're going to do is we're going to look at how to do feathers on the outside portion of a curve, because that's the easier side to do. And then we'll talk about the inside portion of a curve, because the inside is one you got to think about a little bit harder. The outside is a little bit easier. As far as how to actually draw the curve, so if you're not comfortable just kind of sketching out a curve, I did want to show you a couple of choices. So these are Elisa Caillet's, these are by Quilter's Groove, and these are curves that you can use to actually draw the spine. So there's 2 different shapes here, 2 different sizes. There's a large and a medium. There's also a small. And this one will give you the actual curvy spine to put inside a border or some negative space, depending on the size of the curve. Many times I will just kind of flow and sketch it, but if that makes you nervous, there are tools that'll help you get that curve. And that's just one of them. The other thing I wanted to show you, this is by Beth Ann Nemish, and this one is called The Fast and the Fancy, and you can find this there at our website at quiltedjoy.com. What I love about this book is that she goes into all different types of plumes, and she goes into how to do them more easily and then how to make them more complicated and the steps in between. And she's got, I haven't counted, but there are dozens and dozens of types of plumes in here. And then in the back, she's got some really great eye candy, some color photos or black and white photos so you can see the texture of her feather plumes stitched out on some of her quilts. So Beth Ann is amazingly talented. She's one of my quilting heroes, and her variations on feather plumes is this particular book is one I highly recommend because it'll take you from beginner up to intermediate level, so that you can pick out the level that you're interested in, but it'll grow your skills. So I hope that was helpful. Next month we're going to do placing feathers on an outside curve, and that will be on Wednesday, April 1st at 1 o'clock Eastern. So hopefully you can join me then. I wanted to thank our sponsor, APQS. All of the APQS long arm machines are 100% handcrafted in Iowa, and they are loved the world over. All of the APQS long arm machines come with a lifetime warranty as well. All the new APQS machines come with that lifetime warranty, and we just appreciate APQS's support, and we love you, APQS. Thank you so much. All right, so I have a Looky-Loo tour to show you, and that Looky-Loo tour is with Sandy Dahlman from Pumpkin Creek Quilts, and I had the opportunity to go down a few weeks ago and see her new space, and I asked her if she would be willing to give us a video tour because I think you're going to love it. Hi, Sandy. Thank you so much for joining us.
Oh, thank you for having me, Angela.
I can't wait to see your space. First, tell us where you're located.
I'm located in Hendersonville, Tennessee, on New Hope Road.
And that's close to Nashville?
It is. It's about 20 minutes north of Nashville.
Fabulous. All right. Well, turn your camera around so we can see your space because I'm super curious.
Okay. Where would you like for me to start?
Oh, let's start at the front door because you have such a gorgeous space. Now, you're in like a walkout basement, right?
It is.
And so
this is what you see when you first come in. Pumpkin Creek Quilt.
Lovely with the pumpkins.
And just a regular checkout counter and, you know, some nice quilts to start teasing your creative imagination.
Sure. So you operate your business. You machine quilt for others, but you also sell other items, and you operate that out of your home.
I have an inventory of yes, and I have, you know, quilting tools that I really love and am successful in using, and they really work for me. I tend to try to offer those in my repertoire of inventory for customers because, as we know, the tool is everything.
Sure. All right, so you've got a lot of fabric there. So give us a little pan around the room and let's see. Beautiful fabrics.
Lots of fabric.
And I want to see how you have your batting stored because you have it stored in a very unique way that I love.
Well, you know, my husband is responsible for that. I don't know if you can see the bases, but he just made those for me, and he put 2 round wooden bases with wheels in between. And so when I want to just roll out some batting, the whole thing just turns for me.
Oh, perfect.
It's very convenient. It doesn't, you know, get all over the place because, as we know, batting can tend to take over your space.
Right. It can have a mind of its own. And I like that you put your batting shears up there in the top so you don't lose them.
Well, you know, I got a tip from you when I first saw your space because you had everything right there together with your batting.
Yeah.
And I thought, I need to do that and make it more convenient so you don't have to walk all the way over there just to get your scissors to cut batting.
Okay, so you've got a long arm there. Let's see what you got.
I have a Millennium. I love it.
Great.
I have the 12-foot frame. And as you once told me when I was talking about getting a long arm, that the 12-foot frame would hold any king-size quilt, and it has.
Wonderful.
Now, I do have one customer that makes jumbo kings, and literally, I have this much space left on both sides by the time I load her quilts. But it handles everything.
Perfect. Okay, you got to tell me where that little piece of wood stick with the foamy bit on the end of it is.
Well, I haven't finished completely finding all of my stuff after the move. And I normally have a Hartley fence that sits right here
Uh-huh.
that holds all of my little, long arming supplies.
Yeah.
But on this side is where I normally put this stick to hold up
Oh, so
the clamps.
perfect.
And that way, if I have somebody with a very narrow border, which we always get, then, oops,
Yep.
I can hold those clamps up and the long arm machine can go right up to the edge very
It
nicely.
doesn't knock it. Great.
Just a little homemade tool.
Yeah, yeah, those are the best. All right, so show us what you have next to your long arm machine table there.
Well, I have a shelf right now with some customer quilts waiting,
Oh, perfect.
and I have my sewing table, which is ultra important.
Yes.
I have a cabinet here with all of my long arming threads.
Good.
I like to keep them in the cabinet, all of my bobbins and the threads by color,
Yeah.
because if I keep them in the cabinet, then they don't get lint and dust on them and then transfer that lint into my machine.
Sure. Yeah.
And I have all of my rulers here and some other items that, my thing for IQ. I have all my tools for the machine. And then I get started with all of my rulers.
Yeah, you're a ruler girl like me.
And then the big rulers,
Oh, down in there.
they go in the bottom.
Where did you find
Yeah.
the cabinets? That's nice. It's got those shallow drawers.
I found that a long time ago. I actually think it's kind of it's sort of an art
Oh,
rolling cabinet
yeah.
where you've got all the narrow shelving and then it graduates to a bigger size. It's the perfect thing.
Yeah, it's very nice. Well,
And I bought that in another state years ago, so I've kept it.
yeah, that's a nice find. Well, can you flip the camera around so we can see your smiling face?
Sure.
So what would you recommend to your bestie? 3 things that aren't necessarily quilting related. What are you finding interesting right now?
Not necessarily quilting related. I focus a lot on family. And one of the things that we like to do is just get together and play a lot of games.
Yeah.
So we play board games and card games, and so we're always on the lookout for new things. Mad Gab is a really fun game that we've discovered as a family lately.
Mad Gab?
Mad Gab is really fun.
Awesome.
Oh gosh, non-quilting. I was all in the quilting frame of mind.
It can be quilting. It can certainly be quilting. Is there something
okay.
you want to
Well,
recommend?
I have 3 things I'd like to show you that are my favorite in quilting.
Okay, perfect.
Let me turn this around for you. One thing is Bowen chalk, marking chalk. I love these pale colors because if you mark your project very lightly, they can actually just be brushed off or erased off after you're finished stitching over your line.
Great.
So I love that. The second thing I really love is the Quilter's Rule fabric gripping ruler. I don't know if you can kind of see those lines. And on the back, it's a raised grid. And that really does grip your fabric when you're cutting. I love those.
Yeah.
And the third thing is, I said it was $4.60, but it's actually $6.20 adhesive spray.
Yeah.
I spray those on the back of my rulers. That's a little trick I learned from Jamie Wallen. And you can kind of see the ruler on the back is a little bit filmy.
Yeah.
And that's the ruler that I've sprayed. you just spray I always do it outside. Spray a little bit on the back of your ruler, let it dry about 2 seconds, bring it in, and it really sticks very nicely onto your fabric. And it's not like it's sticky, but it's grippy, if that makes sense.
Great.
So I love this stuff.
Great. Well, thank you so much for showing us your space, Sandy. It is beautiful.
Oh, well, thank you for asking me, Angela. It's my pleasure.
All right, I'll see you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Don't you love seeing other people's studios? I like being nosy. I like seeing how they have it laid out. And there's so much light in Sandy's space. She's got a wonderful space to play. So thanks again, Sandy. So now we are going to talk about the design roundtable, how would I quilt it if it were my quilt? Number of quilts that were submitted, and I picked one so that I can break it down and you can kind of get inside my brain and see how I kind of tackle a quilt. So this month we are going to look at Brenda's quilt that she sent in, and this one is a panel, and then she's placed some simple borders around it. And I am a huge fan of panel quilts. I used to call them cheaters, and I no longer do, because I really think that panels are such a great sandbox and they're a wonderful way to learn. And you haven't spent, weeks and weeks piecing it, so you have a very low level of anxiety involved with trying to play and learn. So anytime I have a panel like this, Brenda, that is very realistic, I'm going to follow its lead. And this is a wonderful place for free motion quilting to just kind of go around the petals and just kind of get to know the shapes. And I really enjoy learning kind of how to follow things and how to backtrack and how to cross over and how to go through. And so these kinds of quilts can really just show you a lot about how to travel and how to follow spaces. So I highly recommend that you just go around the shapes you're given from the fabric manufacturer and really just trace around and follow around. And for one thing, you'll start to learn how to travel and how to echo and how to trace and get to know kind of how to control the machine as you go around what has been printed on the fabric. So just go around all of your different poppies here, and you'll exercise some control in how to use the machine, and you'll learn about how to follow shapes as well. So that's the first thing that I would do. So let's see here. I'm just going to minimize that, and let's go to here. So here's where I've gone around all of those poppies. Now notice that as the poppies go away from us, of course, they get a little smaller. So my next challenge is how to deal with this space where they're so small that they kind of blend in together. And so this is an opportunity up here where you can, depending on where you end up, you can just kind of create your own poppy shapes as you go around, but really they just kind of become, the little poppy flowers kind of become just a meander. So I would just start filling this in with a smaller meander. Now, I'm not going to worry too much about balancing density. It's going to be smaller versus those poppies that are in the front of our field, but I'm not super worried about, oh gosh, this is a little closer together than that stuff downtown there that's closer to the bottom edge of the quilt, only because this is likely a throw quilt or something that's wall hanging. It's not going to be entered into a show. It's not going to be that heirloom legacy quilt likely that you're going to pass on to through the ages, but it's a great place to play. And now what I want to do is I want to emphasize kind of these mountains that are back here. So I'm just going to trace under the mountains. Again, this is a great area to really use your free motion control. Go sneak up the ditch and come on top of the mountain and trace that area, and then sneak up the ditch, and I'm going to go just above the sunset. And again, I'm just kind of using the fabric to tell me what to do. And then I'm going to deal with all of the sky. And the sky is really just kind of flattened swirls. And again, I'm just going to kind of use the fabric to kind of tell me where to go and what to do and how to do it, and echo around and fill in the sky so that I have these swirls of the clouds above my mountains. And continuing on swirl till I can sneak out to a ditch. All right, so let's see that. So once I've snuck out to that ditch, now I'm going to start to, I would go ahead and go around my ditch. So I go ahead and ditch this area. So I've got just a straight line pulled out here to show you. I didn't quite pull it out correctly there. Let me try again. So I would ditch all this space, and that's going to wind me up back where I started in that corner. And what I want to do is frame out these poppies. And so what I thought about doing is just, I would need to kind of give myself some tick marks, some measuring marks, and I would just do a back and forth to create a chevron frame around my plumes. And when I got to these corners, so let me see if I can zoom in here so that you can see my corners a little bit better. So when I got to the corner, I would just take and kind of echo out with like a little diamond shape into that corner, and then continue on with my chevron. So just a straight line. And again, it's a kind of a narrow space. It'll give you a chance to play with a ruler for just a little bit without getting too heavy. You do have a miter here that's already marked for you with the seams of what you've pieced to kind of give you some guidelines, and then head back up. So let me make that go away so you can see. Okay, so here's where we are, and then you can see inside those little diamonds, I just put a little curl. So now we're left with this big purple outside area, and what I put in that big purple border was my fried egg filler. So I've got a link there for you to go and see how that is built, and you can watch it being stitched out. But the fried egg filler would mimic the poppy shapes that you have and make sense in this outside border. So let me call up a new little area here, and I'm going to change my color to blue so that you can see it. So the fried egg filler, let me just sketch it out for you. So I'm going to come up, I don't need a straight line. Let me get my drawing pen. So I'm going to come up here with a curl, and I'm going to put a little cotton swab tip on it, and I'm going to head back down to where I came from, and then I'm just going to put a little fried egg little wavy, and then echo with a fried egg waviness, and then head back for the next center. Little cotton swab tip, head back to where I started, and then start to do my little wavy fried egg filler, fried egg echo, and then head back and start with my next center. And it mimics that poppy shape. So there you go, Brenda. That is what I would do on your panel quilt. And of course, we would all love to see, you don't have to do what I did. You know, you do what you want, Brenda, but we would love to see what you come up with. So I hope that you're able to join us over in the Quilted Joy Clubhouse on Facebook. It's a group of some amazing, wonderful, very helpful quilters of all levels. So there's lots of great conversation in there, as well as people who post things that they're working on. So we've just got a great group. So I encourage you to join us over in the Quilted Joy Clubhouse. I think you'll have fun. So I want to thank you for watching. I encourage you and politely ask if you would leave us a review over on Google. It helps people find us. We are a very small little company here, and it's all women powered. So any support and help that you could give us through a Google review would be helpful to watch us grow as well. And I read every one of them personally. So I appreciate those who have left a review. Again, it just helps other people find us, and it's a great way to just say thank you if you're looking for a way to thank us if you find this, the Clubhouse, helpful and valuable to you. So next month on April the 1st at 1 o'clock Eastern, we will be talking about how to place feathers on an outside curve. And I encourage you to join us on Facebook and Instagram. Especially on Instagram when I'm traveling on this cruise. If I do get access to internet, I'll post some pictures on Instagram. Generally, it's easier for me to do that when I'm out and about. So you'll see me teaching, and I'll put some pictures up there on Instagram. So go be nosy and go check out Quilted Joy on Instagram. And then, of course, we also have our YouTube channel where you can look at other tutorial videos, and we have a great learning center there on the Quilted Joy website. So if you want to find out more about feathers, there's a lot of articles and information that we have in our learning center. You'll find it at quiltedjoy.com. So thank you so much for watching, and I will see you on April 1st at 1 o'clock Eastern. Thanks.